Ron Siegel Radio, your home and mortgage connection.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
And hello again. Welcome to Ron Siegel Radio. This is the show with no real boundaries. As we discuss current events, financial markets, politics, sports, even poking fun at the rest of the media. This is the show that connects the dots of confusion. Delivered by conflicting media reports. We connect the dots so you know the actions you can take out your family or business can benefit in current events. Most of all, thank you for joining me. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day. We have a very focused show. We only chat about items that affect the roof over your head, your bank account, and anything I feel would benefit you. And then remind you, if you ever have any home or finance-related questions, I am the consumer advocate looking out for you. And you can reach out to me directly, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. Just remember, that's the number you call anytime for assistance. When you call that number, it comes directly to me first. There are operators standing by.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
While I do have a great team when it comes to developing a financing plan or plan to save you money, I personally work with you. Even if you don't have any needs today, save this number in your phone for future reference. 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. And yes, of course, we are celebrating today. We celebrate every day on Ron Siegel Radio. Yeah, this is a good one today. Well, there's a lot of good ones we do, but National Chocolate Covered Cashews Day. Okay, question of the day. What's your favorite item covered in chocolate? M&M's, maybe? Chopped peanut M&M's? We like that one. Of course, you know something? I'm not sure that I know of a whole lot of things covered in chocolate that aren't good. How do you go wrong with chocolate? National Kindergarten Day. Okay, I'll go with that one. And, you got to really be careful here in this one because, with all the things we've had going on lately, we do have a couple that we have to really be careful of because it could lead to some trouble. I think we've got it right here. So what is today as we record this one, April 21st, follows generally April 20th, National Surprise Drug Testing Day. Okay, well, I don't have to work. It's kind of ironic, though, when you look at it. Josh, I didn't even see this one before. So today's National Surprise Drug Test Day, which follows April 20th. That would be called Snoop Dogg Day. But today's also National Pet CBD Day. I don't know if you want to go there, but oh well. Let's see what the markets are doing. I don't know if we want to see what the markets are doing. Dow Jones Industrial Average now down 1,114 points. The S&P 500, that one's kind of ugly as well. So that one's down 151 points. The NASDAQ down 508. Now you get the numbers this big. You might as well just say, okay, the Dow's down just under 3%. The S&P's down just under 3%. And the NASDAQ's down just over 3%. So it kind of puts all these numbers in perspective. Oil down $1.83 a barrel, $62.85 a barrel this morning. And we are looking gas prices, $4.84 a gallon here in the formerly Golden State. So you just watch all these things. And I'm watching it. I mentioned this last week. We're at 484 last year. This week, 543, the national average. 315. It's been holding right there in the three teens for the national numbers lately. So I've been saying recently that, my opinion, and it's the only one I can give you because I can't give you your opinion. That's yours. But my opinion is the Trump administration is going to be defined as the administration of chaos. And even when things start smoothing out a little bit, he creates more chaos. So there's a lot of talk right now that there is good cause for the Federal Reserve to lower interest rates. But because Trump's got such a big mouth, I'm going to suggest, something, maybe they won't lower rates just because, when you really think about it, is the right way to try and coordinate with somebody by insulting them all the time? And so Trump talks about the Federal Reserve, is his comment there is always about, let's argue with Powell and argue with the Federal Reserve. Well, if you're always arguing, how do you really think they're going to want to work with you? Do you think they're going to want to? If I wanted somebody to give me what I want to give them, do I go, hey, you're an idiot, but would you do this for me? Probably not the best way of trying to go about it, but that's kind of his methodology now. And, we're getting used to it. Are we ever going to get used to it? I don't know. So that's kind of what we're watching with him. Do I believe the tariffs will work? Yes. Do I believe a lot of his policies are going to work? Yes. But do I believe his methodology of getting there? Shut up and do your job. No one wants to hear from you every day. Well, I'm glad they like to hear from us every day. That's a whole different story. Otherwise, we might have a problem here. But the bottom line is it just does tend to get a little bit old. And those stations that are just covering him nonstop, there's some good stuff that comes out, but the attacks don't do any good, I don't believe. Let's just, you keep looking around, seeing what's going on. Economists now are saying there's a 90% chance of a recession. And, the recession is because of slowdown. And yes, the slowdown is probably going to be caused by some of the tariff issues. But the tariffs are not going to be inflationary. I've talked to you about that before. So here's the issue is, why do I say they're not inflationary? Because you're the consumer. You have the control. Now you look and you say, okay, well, right now, because I used to be in the import-export business, I understand it pretty well, that right now is when the orders are being placed. It's a little late, actually, for placing orders in China and overseas for Christmas goods. Well, what's going to end up happening is this year, if they don't get these things solved pretty quick, and it's a little late even right now, I would guess that if I was still in that business, we'd probably be canceling our Christmas toy orders right now because they were placed in February. So if they start getting onto ships in June and July, maybe August. And do we know what the tariffs are going to be then? No. So what you end up doing is you just cancel the order. Now, if we don't buy whatever that widget is it inflationary? No, it's not inflationary just because you're going and you're saying, if it's not inflation because you're not buying it, it's not inflationary. Now, if you went and you said, okay, I have to have that cheap toy, and it was $1 at Dollar Tree last year, and I can't get it there anymore. I've got to go to Walmart and pay $1.50 for that same toy. That becomes inflationary. But if you don't buy it, no inflation because there's no sale. Well, no sale then brings us to the point of recessionary. And those folks that have money in the markets, well, stay where you're at because you only lose when you quit. Now, if you've got money to put into the market, I'm not giving financial advice here, but I would say, you know something? When the markets are down 1,000 points, maybe buy a little bit. When they're down, and I think it's this week, we're going to get some of the commentary from Elon Musk and Tesla. And I'm going to tell you that Tesla, those people that think Tesla's going out of business, ain't going to happen. Why? Because they're a leading innovator. All the things that the administration is doing right now with tariffs and things, those will end up benefiting Tesla, not from the standpoint of their cars, but from the standpoint of the robotics and the AI that they're getting involved in. So that'll end up, you want to build a car in America? Well, you can't compete with the $5 an hour, $10 an hour labor that you're getting in Mexico, you're getting in China, you're getting in these different offshore markets. But if you start going with robots, you can compete all the time. Now you need maybe one person to control 5 robots, whereas it might have been a 1-to-1 ratio before. So you end up getting more productivity. So our auto manufacturers, they're going to end up having to retool their human capital, their human assets. That's where what's going to end up having to happen. Just throw that out there. Don't forget to put a comment in about what is your favorite thing covered in chocolate. That's our word of the day. So I'm just going to throw that out there. What is your favorite item covered in chocolate? I like almonds, peanuts, M&Ms. I think the list for me would be way too long. You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate, current events, and the financial markets. When we come back, don't miss this prime spring window to sell your house. Is your credit score quietly costing you? How home appreciation builds wealth with a little bit of magic and a whole lot of math. All that and more. Reach me anytime. Off-air number 800-306-1990. 800-306-1990 or ronsiegelradio.com, facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube, Ron Siegel, the number 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
Are you a veteran, own a home, and need money? The Siegel Lending Team is here to help veterans refinance and get the money they need. The VA 100 lets you borrow up to 100% of your home's value, refinance your mortgages, consolidate credit cards, and lower your payments by an average of $700 a month. And the Siegel Lending Team knows that character means more than a credit score. Call 800-306-1990. That's 800-306-1990. Rate subject to change without notice. Licensed by the California Department of Corporations, NMLS 21037, and DRE number 018694452. You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's...
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. The Mortgage Minute today being brought to you by our friends at Geneva Financial. When you're ready for that next home loan, Geneva's got the programs and the products. You just need to make the call. 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. And every day at this time, OBMMI, they provide the most comprehensive, accurate, timely, and interactive analysis of pricing ever conducted in the mortgage industry, calculated from actual locked rates with consumers across 35% of all mortgage transactions nationwide. They don't tell us points paid, points received, or the APR. They only tell us the number. You need to put in your mortgage calculator to figure out what your monthly mortgage interest and principal payment will be. If you don't have a mortgage calculator, simple. rsrlinks.com/mobile app. rsrlinks.com/mobile app. What did rates do on Friday? Conventional 30-year fix, 6.781. That was down. Jumbo 30-year fix, 6.903. That was down. FHA 30-year fix, 6.425. That was down. VA 30-year fix, 6.374. That was up. USDA 30-year fix, 6.39. That was down. If you want our thoughts on the market each and every business day morning, as early as the data allows, feel free to get it. All you have to do is register. rsrlinks.com/market minute. rsrlinks.com/market minute. Let's see what the markets are doing today. Well, I guess I got to start with the S&P 500. That's where we generally start. Unfortunately, I don't have it sitting on my screen right this second, but I'll have it in a minute. So the S&P 500 is down 148 points. 10-year Treasury up 3 basis points. That's come back a bit. Mortgage bonds, those are down 17 basis points. That's recovered a bit as well. And remember, when the bond goes down, the interest rates go up. 17, not a big number, but we're starting to get there where it might have an effect on rates based on where they were last Friday. What's driving all this? Well, I told you a little bit of it in the prior segment when I was telling you that we're looking at a lot of the economists now are starting to get on the bandwagon of recession. And I've told you, you know my opinion if you watch Ron Siegel or listen to Ron Siegel radio. At any given time, I've told you my opinion of the Federal Reserve.
Such an idiot. Such an idiot.
Yeah, they've been behind 2021. They were behind. Now they're behind. They got a bunch of lawyers there. Not that I have anything against lawyers, but they're not economists. So the lawyers look at what happened, like what was the law, what's the Constitution. That's what lawyers do. What happened? Well, economists are trying to study the past to better understand the present in hopes of predicting the future. Graded in my brain from Chapman College way back in the day before it was Chapman University. Well, the economists are trying to predict the future. Well, Powell keeps looking at where we are right now, which is all the data, and the data tell us where we were. They don't tell us where we're heading. A lot of concern over the U.S. dollar losing its reserve currency status. While the dollar has come off its highs and weakened in the last few weeks, it's still much stronger than it was just 5 years ago and previously. The International Monetary Fund recently released figures showing official numbers of foreign exchange reserves. It shows that the dollar made up 58% of foreign exchange reserves, with the euro the next closest to 20%. The yen around 5%, and the yuan that people are saying could replace the dollar at 2.2%. Compare that to our 58. The dollar has a huge lead on other currencies and is nowhere near losing its reserve currency status. Lacey Hunt released his quarterly newsletter last week showing that the real M2 money supply and ODL, other deposit liabilities, which removes currency and retail money market accounts, and what he feels is an even better measure, are contracting significantly. There's always been deflationary and a sign of slower growth ahead. He also believes that tariffs are bad for growth and have historically led to a recession. Lacey thinks the Fed should be preemptively cutting rates ahead of a recession. Does that surprise you?
Surprise, surprise, surprise.
Yeah, but the Fed doesn't look at anything in the future. He also sees long-term treasuries and mortgage rates lower in the future. We like that. The Fed has their next meeting on May 7th. And ahead of that, we may get a negative Q1 GDP print. The official numbers will come out later this month, but the Atlanta Fed is forecasting negative or negative, the flatline GDP growth. Many Fed members, including Powell, have admitted that the policy is still restrictive, adding they said that tariffs are a one-time price increase, which is different than persistent inflation. If the U.S. were to enter into a recession, rate cuts would help. But in Powell's own words, monetary policy has long and variable lags. As a result, the market is asking if the Fed should be easing now. Chicago Fed President Austin Goolsbee spoke on CNBC today. When asked about preemptive rate cuts, he said, they are on the table. But it's a very large table, and there are many things on it. He appeared to want to be patient because he too sees tariffs as a temporary spike in inflation, but that could change if there is continued retaliation. He'd like to wait and see how the 90-day pause plays out. Bottom line, Goolsbee said the U.S. economy was in good shape ahead of the tariffs. It was near maximum employment, and inflation was around 2.5% and heading lower. He thinks that things will get back on track and the rates will be lower next year. We like to hear that. That's the Mortgage Minute, brought to you by our friends at Geneva Financial. When you're ready for that next home loan, Geneva's got the programs and the products. You just need to make the call, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. And don't forget, if you're still thinking about it and you haven't taken a look yet, go check out our friends at it's funny. I looking at some of the comments. We've got a good discussion going on there. Two people watching Ron Siegel Radio. David, that's only on one channel. We're on 8 of them, so you might not be seeing everything there is right there, because I see there's a lot more right there. But go Glad to have you join us, Carrie Cruz. Why did Biden and Harris open the secure? Okay, we're not getting into that one today. So, bottom. Let's go back and we'll just talk about. When you think about some of the issues of what the Federal Reserve is doing, does the fact that they reduce interest rates affect home mortgage rates? And I've shared with you for years and years. Home mortgage rates are driven exclusively by the mortgage-backed securities. And we talk about those all the time on the radio program. But here's the difference. Because we've got this wonderful program in Geneva, it's the Home Select loan, gethomeselect.com, gethomeselect.com. It's not a mortgage-backed security-driven product. So when the Federal Reserve stays the same, well, the rate on the Home Select stays the same. But if the Federal Reserve drops their rate, then the rate on the Home Select goes down. And generally, if you're using the program the way it's meant to be used, your payment goes down every month as well. Why? It's because of the way the Home Select is structured. It's structured in such a way that you're paying principal first. And if you look at a traditional 30-year mortgage, and probably about 85 to 90% of mortgages are that 30-year fixed rate loan, it takes almost 22 years to pay half of it. You start saying, if you think into yourself, why is it that I'm paying half of it in 22 years and it's a 30-year loan? I've paid for almost 2/3 of the life. Well, the issue there, it's almost 3/4 of the life, actually. But the issue is because it's all front-loaded on interest. That's why when you do a refinance, when we work with folks and we ask, what's your number? And you can go to our video where we've done that, rsrlinks.com/what's your number. And we say, what is the logic? Where do you want to be to restructure your home loan? We don't talk about interest rates, because they don't matter. We can manipulate those however you want them. You want a 4% rate? I'll show you how to get a 4% rate. You want a 3% rate? I'll show you how to get a 3% effective rate. Easy to be done. Even when we're talking about APRs at 7, we can show you how to get an effective rate of 3 or 4 or 5, whatever you want. Not too difficult. But the bottom line here is when you're looking at the amortization table, the interest is front loaded. When we look at what's your number, we're saying, what is the amount of dollars that makes sense for you to restructure your loan so that the bank doesn't make as much money? Well, the answer to that question becomes a much simpler question, because now we're looking at it and saying, we want our dollars to get lower. Well, the way we deal with that is we say, okay, I want to wait until I can save 5% on my mortgage payment. So if you've got a $2,000 a month mortgage payment, I want to save $100. If you've got a $5,000 a month mortgage payment, you're going to save $250, 5% of your mortgage payment. But more, we want to be able to save on the term also, because if we go and restructure that into a new 30-year loan, well, all we're doing is resetting that interest in the amortization table. We want you to take a good portion of the savings and pay that on your principal every month, because that's how you end up getting even lower of an effective rate. So you say, okay, Ron, I want to save 5%. And 5% of my $5,000 a month payment is $250. And we say, okay, let's take 200 of that savings. You're already making that payment where it is now. Let's take and say, okay, now we're working with a lower interest rate. We're saving you 5%. So you're at $47.50. But we want to take in addition to that, like $200 out of that $250 and start paying it toward principal early. Watch what that does to the term of your loan. And when we come back, I'll talk to you about what that does with precise numbers. You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate, current events, and the financial markets. When we come back, don't miss this prime spring window to sell your house. Is your credit score quietly costing you money? how home appreciation builds wealth with a little bit of magic and a whole lot of math. All that and more. Reach me anytime. Off air number 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or RonSiegelRadio.com, Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube, Ron Siegel, the numeral 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
Confused about the home buying process? Or curious how much you really know about buying a home? Take the First Home IQ quiz to test your understanding of buying a home. Created by the nonprofit First Home IQ, this 5-minute quiz will give you a score, what you missed, and why. Take the quiz in 5 minutes at rsrlinks.com/FHIQ and find out what you need to know about buying your first home. That's rsrlinks.com/FHIQ.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's...
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. The real-time real estate segment today being brought to you by rsrmoney.com, rsrmoney.com. Don't miss this prime spring window to sell your house. According to Realtor.com, the best week to list your house this year was April 13 to 19 last week. And since that week has come and gone, you might be wondering, did I miss my chance? Not at all, and here's why. That's just one source's take based on their own research. Other organizations run similar studies, and since different places use different methodologies for their research, sometimes the results vary too. And that's actually good news for you. According to Zillow, the best time to list your house is still ahead. The latest research from Zillow says sellers who list their homes in late May tend to see higher sales prices based on home sales from last year. This study explains why, quote, search activity typically peaks before Memorial Day as shoppers get serious about house hunting before their summer vacation and the new school year in the fall. By targeting late spring, sellers can get their home listed when the most shoppers are looking. When more buyers are competing for homes, sellers can command a higher price. And they're not the only ones saying selling May, and they're not the only ones saying selling in May can help homeowners net top dollar. Adam Data conducted a similar study by analyzing 59 million home sales over the past 13 years. Quote, freshly compiled sales statistics from Adam demonstrate that home sellers continue to reap significant benefits from listing their properties during the month of May. Examination of home sales trends spanning 13 years reveals that, on average, sellers are commanding 11.1% premium above the estimated market value, unquote. An article from Bankrate echoes this sentiment and brings this all together to show that any time in April or May is a good time. Quote, some pattern and trends usually do hold true throughout the year, and one is that spring continues to be the best time to sell. Sellers can net thousands of dollars more if they sell during the peak months of April and May, unquote. The window to sell during prime time is very much still open, so you can make a move and potentially cash in big if you sell now. That said, the best week to list your house really depends on a few local factors like buyer demand, how many homes are for sale nearby, and how quickly things are selling. That's why working with an experienced agent who knows your area is the key. And you know, something, even before you go and get that agent, number one, we'll put you in touch with one if you want, who's great in your area, but go get all the real data for your neighborhood. We have a research report that we put out every week that tells you about every home for sale in the market each and every week. rsrlinks.com/market report. rsrlinks.com/market report. And it'll tell you price is going up, price is going down, what's listed, what's being sold, how many are out there, all the data being compiled for you. And it's all right there. Bottom line, spring is the busiest time in real estate, and there's still time to take full advantage of that momentum. What's holding you back from making your move this spring? And what would help you feel ready? Let's talk about it. Give me a call at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. And yes, I was sharing with you the concept of restructuring and what's your number. All those things are part of what are the program that we were just talking about before the break. And you need to really have a good focus on these things. And let's throw some numbers out there. So I was sharing with you this concept that if you can save 5% on your payment, and let's not worry about where the interest rate is. I'm just throwing in numbers that'll make sense. And again, I'm just throwing out the numbers for educational purposes only. So I don't want anybody to get too excited about them. So let's say we're looking at a $825,000. Will that work? I did this a little bit off just a minute ago when I did it. Yeah, an $825,000 loan amount. That's where your loan balance is, let's just say today. And I'm going to go a little lower. Let's go to 800, just so it's for round numbers. You've got an $800,000 loan balance. That gives you a monthly payment of $47.96. And with, that's, take that back. We're looking at the payment of $5,000. Now we're saying we want to save 5%. And that means we need to have a payment of $47.50. So for $47.50, that means we're looking at an interest rate of 5.9%. We don't care about the interest rate because I'm going to show you how to manipulate that in a minute. But the bottom line is that redoes your whole amortization table. And we don't want to start from where we've got to go another 22 years to get back to our break-even point. That doesn't help us at all. So what do? Well, we're going to go and we're going to take and we're going to pay an extra $200 a month on that. When we pay that extra $200 a month, that gives us an effective interest rate, not of 5.9, but of 5.2. And it's going to cut 3 years off the duration of that 30-year loan. So do you see how this, using the amortization table? Now, you say, well, Ron, I really would much rather have a number lower than that. And you say, something, I've gotten a raise since I took out that loan. And I'd like to have my interest rate in the 4 range. And I say, okay, well, we just need to manipulate the numbers to get you into that 4 range. What does that look like? Well, what happens if we start making an extra $350 a month? So we save $250 already, right? Or what if we do $325? So we already saved $250 just by restructuring the loan. rsrlinks.com/what's my number. rsrlinks.com/what's my number. And you say, okay, well, I got a raise and I saved $250. I could probably put another 400 more, 300 more. Okay, what if you do $325? Well, now you've got an effective interest rate of 4.84. Nice. And now we've got it paid off in 25 and a half years. That's even better. So you see, by just changing the amount of the payment, and we didn't hurt you any because you got a raise and we restructured for lower dollars. So you're getting paid off quicker. Think about that methodology because, as you know, not everybody will say this to you, but you're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, and I do. Strategy beats rate always. Knowing how you want to move forward. What are your goals? And I'm going to share this with you because I do all the time. I once again got into a discussion over the weekend. I get myself in trouble every once in a while because somebody did pose. Josh is just laughing at me there. He sees all of our streams. somebody made a comment that they liked the idea of having no mortgage payment. And I said, well, as a certified liability advisor who is very, very focused on safety, return, and liquidity, having your house paid off fails on all three. It's not safe, it's not liquid, and there's zero return. So what do you do different? Well, try to find a program, and we know where they are, so you just have to call us. Find that program where you can put money into safe and secure investments, not your 401k, because that's geared to tax you more. There are other vehicles, but the idea here is you want to have the liquidity. If your house is paid off, there's only one way to access that. Well, actually two: borrow or sell. If you really need the money, borrowing's out, because we don't lend money to people who need money. We lend money to people who want money. Very, very difficult to get a loan if you don't have a job, if you don't have income, if you don't have a source of repayment. So lack of liquidity. Now, I'm a believer that everybody should have a home equity line of credit. If you don't, well, go and put your information in. Do a 30-second mini app. If you do the 30-second mini app, we can do a soft credit pull. It does not affect your FICO scores at all, even though your scores are the least thing. rsrlinks.com/Sora, rsrlinks.com/Sora, and you do a 30-second mini app. Put that information in there. It'll come right to us. We can look and see if we can set you up with a home equity line of credit, or just dealing with something that'll help you out. But again, it goes back to the same thing. Strategy beats rate always. You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate, current events, and the financial markets. When we come back, your credit score quietly costing you? Easy for me to say. How home appreciation builds wealth with a little bit of magic and a whole lot of math. All that and more. Reach me anytime. Off-air number 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or RonSiegelRadio.com, Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube. Ron Siegel, the numero 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
Do you know a homeowner experiencing divorce? Do you know a real estate reference and the divorce decree could cost tens of thousands of dollars? A certified divorce mortgage planning and real estate report could save you thousands of dollars, and it's free from your local certified divorce lending professional. Reach out to Ron today. RonIsMyLender.com. Again, RonIsMyLender.com. Licensed under NMLS 217037, Equal Housing Lender.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. The Borrow Smart segment today being brought to you by GetHomeSelect.com, GetHomeSelect.com. How home appreciation builds wealth with a little bit of magic and a whole lot of math. Ron Siegel Radio today, we're diving into one of the most misunderstood aspects of real estate, home appreciation. Some folks call it luck, others call it magic, but let's be honest. There's a lot more math involved than people realize. So the question is home appreciation magic or math? The answer is a little bit of both. The magic of real estate. Let's start with the so-called magic. You've heard the stories. I bought a home for $300,000, sold it for $500,000 10 years later. My parents' house is worth 4 times what they paid for it. The untrained eye, that looks like magic. You live your life, pay your mortgage, and one day, poof, your home is worth a small fortune. But if we pull back the curtain, what we see isn't luck. It's leverage, inflation, and time. And those are all mathematical forces at play. Now let's talk math. The real reason appreciation works, let's say you buy a home for $500,000, put 10% down, that's $50,000 in your own money. Now imagine that home appreciates at 4% per year. After 1 year, your home is worth $520,000. That's a $20,000 increase in value on a $50,000 investment. That's a 40% return, not 4%, 40%. Because appreciation happens on the whole value of the home, not just your down payment. And that, my friends, is leverage in action. When we borrow smart and repay smart, we put the math to work for us. Appreciation plus inflation equals a powerful combo. Here's another mathematical force for your corner. Inflation, it eats away at the value of money, but it also drives up the cost of hard assets like real estate. Let me explain. The Federal Reserve targets inflation at around 2% annually. That means in 10 years, your $500,000 home, assuming no other market forces, is more likely to be worth around $610,000 to $650,000 just from inflation-driven appreciation. But here's where it gets fun. During that time, your fixed-rate mortgage payment does not go up. You're paying yesterday's dollars on tomorrow's value. That's what we call wealth acceleration through debt efficiency. The three-sided balance sheet, why appreciation alone isn't enough. As a certified liability advisor, I teach that homeowners live on what we call a three-sided balance sheet: assets, liabilities, and cash flow. Most people only focus on one or two of those, but appreciation only builds wealth if it works in harmony with the other two. Assets, the home itself. Liabilities, the mortgage used to purchase the home. Cash flow, how efficiently we manage our income and payments. If you buy a home that appreciates, but you're drowning in payments or carrying expensive consumer debt, you're actually losing wealth potential. But when you match the right mortgage product with the right repayment strategy and the right exit plan, appreciation becomes rocket fuel for your financial future. Refinancing and accessing appreciated equity, appreciation creates options, but only if you plan ahead. Let's say your home value goes up by $200,000 over 5 or 10 years. What can you do with that equity? Pay off high interest debt, fund a college education, start a business, buy investment property, reinvest into home upgrades that boost value even more. But here's the catch. Access your equity is only smart when you have a strategy. That's why working with a certified liability advisor, we don't just look at today's rates. We look at lifetime borrowing costs, effective percentage rates, tax impact, and how to align that with your long-term financial goals. Smart borrowing, smart repayment. I always say you don't build wealth by paying off your mortgage. You build wealth by managing it. Why? Because in many cases, using someone else's money to control a growing asset, your home, is far more powerful than owning it free and clear. The secret is not if you're borrowing, but how you borrow. And more importantly, how you repay. Do you overpay your mortgage while carrying high interest credit card debt? Keep 30 years of the same loan without reviewing the strategy? Miss out on tax deductions and compounding opportunities? A certified liability advisor helps you avoid those traps. What this means for first-time buyers, now if you're a first-time buyer, you might be thinking, Ron, how can I get in the game when prices are already high? Here's the good news. Appreciation doesn't require perfect timing. It requires time in the market, not timing the market. Waiting for the prices to drop can often cost you more in lost appreciation than you'd gain in a small price reduction. Meanwhile, you're paying rent, which appreciates for your landlord, not you. So even if rates are high, home values over time, driven by inflation, demand and market trends, are still working in your favor. Your job to find the right entry point with the right loan structure. Final thought, it's not magic, it's strategy. Home appreciation might look like magic, but behind the curtain, it's just good math and better planning, and that's where I come in. I am a certified liability advisor, CLA, helping families build wealth through strategic debt management. If you're ready to see how homeownership appreciation and smart borrowing can work for your family's future, Let's have a conversation. You don't need a magic wand. You just need the right loan plan. That's the Mortgage Minute, brought to you by our friends at Geneva Financial. When you're ready, I'm sorry, that's the Borrow Smart segment, brought to you by GetHomeSelect.com, GetHomeSelect.com. I think we have time for a quick Your Credit Matters segment, brought to you by rsrlinks.com/debt-free. Is your credit score quietly costing you? Here at Ron Siegel Radio, we talk about your real estate, your finances, how to build wealth by managing your liabilities smarter, not harder. I'm Ron Siegel, your Certified Liability Advisor, and today I want to talk about a little 3-digit number that has massive impact on your financial future. We're talking about your credit score. Now, stick with me here, because whether you're planning to buy a home, refinance, or just want to improve your cash flow, this is something that affects every single one of us. 715 is good, but is it smart? So here's the headline. According to the latest data, the average credit score in America right now is 715. Not bad. Technically, that's considered good. But here's the problem. Good doesn't mean optimal. And when it comes to borrowing money, especially for something as big as a home, being average could cost you a lot. In fact, if your score isn't at least 760, you're probably not getting the best interest rates on the market. That could be costing you tens of thousands of dollars in higher payments and interest over the life of the loan. Why it matters, even if you're not buying right now. Now you might be thinking, Ron, I'm not shopping for a new house or a car right now. Why should I care? Well, because your credit score affects way more than just home loans. It can impact your insurance premiums, credit card rates, job applications, and even how much cash you can access from your home to support retirement, college funding, or paying off high interest debts. And for those of you who have heard me before, you know I'm always coming back to the same truth. Cash flow is king, and better credit gives you more options, more leverage, and ultimately more wealth building power. The 5 fast fixes that make a big impact. So how do you go from an average to excellent? Here are 5 things you can do right now to start boosting that score. Pay down your credit card balances. Stay under 30% of your available credit. Under 10% is even better. Number 2, ask for a credit limit increase. This lowers your utilization ratio, but don't spend the extra money. Number 3, review your reports for errors. Nearly every report has mistakes. Disputing them can lead to quick score improvements. Number 4, request deletions of settled accounts. It's possible to negotiate removals even after paying things off. Number 5, learning the smartest time to pay. 90% of Americans pay their credit cards at the wrong time. You want to beat the reporting cycle, not the due date. I've got a short video at rsrccpayment.com, rsrccpayment.com, that shows you exactly how to do this. These aren't credit hacks. They're real strategies rooted in how the system actually works. Let's take a look at risk-free. Now, if you're curious where you stand, you want a quick review without the hassle, I've got 2 easy options for you. You can head over to rsrlinks.com/Sora, rsrlinks.com/Sora, and complete our 30-second liability check app. It gives us a quick snapshot of your liabilities using a soft credit pull, which has no impact on your credit score at all. It's fast, free, and gives you real-time insight into how to better manage your debts and improve your cash flow. Or hey, just shoot me a message or email and let's chat. No pressure, just a real conversation about your goals and how we can help. Because I'm not just here to help you borrow money. I'm here to help you borrow smart and repay smart and build wealth with intention. That is the Your Credit Matters segment, brought to you by rsrlinks.com/debt-free, rsrlinks.com/debt-free. And as always, I ask, set that first radio preset button to come back here and join Ron Siegel Radio, where we only speak about items affecting your house and your bank account. Thanks to all of our sponsors. A big thanks to Josh and Sean, who are engineering us today. And of course, a special thanks to you for spending a little bit of your day with us. That's all for Ron Siegel Radio. Again, if you have any questions or to meet any of our guests, call me anytime. 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. And remember, make a lot of money so you can help a lot of people and have a lot of fun. Have a great day. We'll talk to you next time on Ron Siegel Radio.